All right. So I'm just, oh, wait. Okay, here we go. All right. So here we are. Sheryl Atkins-Green from Mary Kay, the CMO. We are talking about empowerment. This is episode number 12 of The Elements of Marketing. Sheryl, thank you so much for joining today. Sorry about the tech challenges, but
yeah, no worry. Happy to be able to experience Blab for the first time.
Awesome. Well, we're excited then that you are here. Sheryl and I have talked several times over the last several years. Many interviews you can find on my blog, and most recently, a tight interview in the CMO's periodic table, A Renegade's Guide to Marketing. So, Sheryl, first of all, Happy New Year.
Same to you.
And how are things going at Mary Kay?
We are off to a fast start. In fact, this week we're going to be celebrating the success at our leadership conference in Los Angeles. So we're off to a fast start.
Wow, very cool. So that's the leaders from around the world?
Here it's going to be leaders from North America, US and Canada. And it'll be our national sales directors and the independent sales directors.
Independent sales directors. Okay. Well, everybody's heard of Mary Kay, but not everybody knows it as well as I've come to know it as a result of knowing you. Maybe you could just sort of set the stage a little bit with background on Mary Kay and your unique structure.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Mary Kay is a global beauty brand. And we are 52 years young, founded in 1963 by Mary Kay Ash, who had a dream to provide women with an opportunity to be successful financially, and also to do that with the flexibility to spend time with their family and their other interests. So truly, with her life savings of $5,000 and that dream, she started what today is a global empire with more than 3.5 million independent beauty consultants around the world.
Let me pause for a second. 3.5 million. That's a big number.
We are in 35 countries around the world. So it's so exciting that this opportunity has resonated across cultures among women around the world.
Well, and that is a mouthful. And I mean, I look at it and I say, you have 3.5 million marketers out there.
I sure do.
That's a big staff.
They are the best brand ambassadors in the world. So I think any chief marketing officer would be thrilled to have those 3.5 million brand advocates.
So, and you, let's just talk about that, because this whole conversation, or at least the first part of it and what we talked about in my book, and by the way, one of the reasons that I'm doing these sessions is there's a great deal of interest in the book in the education market. A number of colleges are starting to use it in their curriculum, and I want to have a supplemental deeper dive into each of the topics, which is really kind of cool. Anyway, so let's talk about, so these women are independent, they're your customers. How does that basic relationship work, and from a marketing standpoint?
Well, as you mentioned, they are independent saleswomen. They each have a Mary Kay business. Each one of them has their own individual contractual relationship with Mary Kay. So as it relates to marketing, they are the Mary Kay brand. And it is really the experience, the service, their contributions in their local communities that really are the heart of the Mary Kay brand. So as a chief marketing officer, my responsibility with my team is to help them be the best Mary Kay brand that they can be.
Well, so they're the brand, and that's so interesting. And that's a very empowering statement in and of itself, that these people that are independent are the brand. So how do you, in this sense, manage from a marketing standpoint as the CMO? Again, we have this, they're the brand and they're independent. How do you connect those two and make sure that they're on the same page, that they are speaking about the brand and representing the brand in a way that, you know, feels right for you sitting at headquarters?
Right. Well, the connection really is the culture. Mary Kay has an amazing culture that is firmly grounded in the values and principles of our founder, Mary Kay Ash. And it's that connection to the culture that really enables 3.5 million independent beauty consultants to represent the Mary Kay brand with the integrity and again, the value system that Mary Kay Ash herself instilled. Values around golden rule service, treating others the way you would want to be treated, the principle of giving and giving without expecting anything in return, making people feel important. And it's because those values are really internalized and embraced by the independent sales force that they do represent the brand consistently around the world.
And it's so interesting because we quickly get from empowerment to culture. And so my first thought of culture is I immediately think of Mary Kay and her pink Cadillac. Now that's obviously not culture, but I bet it is somewhat of that's part of the legacy of the brand, right? And are there still pink Cadillacs out there?
Oh, most definitely. And there's going to be a lot of them out in Los Angeles this week.
Is that right?
Actually, the Cadillac does represent part of the culture, that part of the culture, which is about picturing everyone with an invisible sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. So part of our culture is about recognition of progress, of achievements. And yes, the pink Cadillac is, we say, the trophy on wheels. But our brand is really about recognition in multiple form. And I think that's, again, that connection between culture and empowerment, making sure that people, women know they can achieve anything that they believe, and then celebrating that success with tangible signs of recognition. And that could be a certificate. It might be a piece of jewelry, and it might be a pink Cadillac.
And I have so many questions for you about this because we could go in a lot of different ways. And you and I have talked about culture quite a bit in the past. Let's first talk about, and I know from personal, my wife worked on Dove and the campaign for Real Beauty and did it on a global basis. And there were some differences, interpretations of what even the definition of beauty was. How do you, how does the culture of the brand, which is a very American individual, Mary Kay, I mean, she's quintessential Horatio Alger's rag to riches story. How does that translate, and how do you make sure that that culture adapts in each of the 35 countries you're in?
At Mary Kay, we have always defined beauty as being the inner beauty that shines through on the outside. So it's not the traditional definition of beauty per se. And for that reason, we do believe and approach beauty in the sense that every woman wants to look like herself, only better. So the beauty is a very individual concept. And I think that's one of the reasons why we can meet the beauty needs of women around the world, because it's really about how she defines her beauty. And while, yes, there are going to be different preferences for shades of lipstick, there are some things that are pretty much universal in terms of women, for example, wanting beautiful, younger looking skin. And that's one of the reasons why skincare is at the heart of our portfolio.
Interesting. And so just to make sure I was in that moment, so skin and are there differences in on a global basis in skin type, skin usage, and does that sort of have implications for what happens?
There are definite by geographic region, between climate, but also demographic differences in skincare. So we do have to make sure that we have a large range of offering. We developed some products specifically, for example, for women in Asia Pacific, because they do like to have a number of steps in their skincare regimen. But importantly, we have the science, we have the technology to meet those skincare needs of women around the world. In fact, we just issued a press release noting that we had reached a milestone of 1,200 patents being issued globally because of the exclusive technology that Mary Kay has developed.
I saw that and I thought, wow, 1,200 patents. That's a really impressive number. So I've been talking to a lot of established brands lately, and some of them are 100 years old and some, 50 plus. And when you have a brand that's so closely connected to an individual, right? She defined it, but she defined that 52 years ago. How do you, we've talked a little bit about this, but I want to hear you tell us the story again. How do you evolve a culture so that it doesn't become stale or dated or, well, that's so 1965, that's not 2016.
Yeah. Well, it's about combining the tried and true with the new. So some of the things that I think are very timeless are certainly, again, the values of the company. But as it relates to beauty, women want products that work. They want products they can believe in. They want products that they can be confident have been formulated with the best science, the best ingredients, and extensively tested. So these have been really pillars of how Mary Kay has approached product development. Those things don't change. What has changed, particularly as we've become a more global business, is that we now have access to scientists, the best ingredients, trend knowledge from around the world. So we are always out talking to women, understanding what they want, talking to our 3.5 million beauty consultant customers. And this enables us to stay on top of the trends and make sure that we anticipate what they are going to want and need so that they in turn can delight their customers.
So, and I want to dive into that, but because you started getting into listening, and I think that's so important, and I know you do that really well. But let's step back for a second. And I remember you and I had a conversation about digital and how you were able to take elements of the existing culture and use that to sort of frame a forward-looking conversation about we need to do some things differently. We need to have a digital presence, and that needs to fit in somehow. That was very clever. And can you talk a little bit about maybe that you remember that and how you sort of.
I do.
Okay, please.
I do. When I first joined the company, there were mixed sentiments about the role of digital and social media.
Right.
And in part because that face-to-face personal interaction has always been so important to our business model, and it is just as important today. But one of the things that I saw was that there really was a digital revolution happening very quickly, and it was important for Mary Kay to be a part of it. If you think about it, in the direct selling channel, it's always about word of mouth, and that's one of the most trusted forms of marketing. And Mary Kay was so wise; she knew that from the very beginning. So the opportunity for digital was really not to replace face-to-face, but if anything, to really supplement and extend the reach of those personal connections. So one of the things that I needed to do was really to position digital marketing and social media in the context of building and maintaining trusted relationships, and that it was really a tool to enable women to stay in touch, to connect anytime, anywhere. And I think, Drew, one of the conversations we had, you might have remembered that I have given Mary Kay Ash credit for creating Facebook, because she always said, when you see a face, you got to book it.
That's funny. That's such a good line. But I think that, I've had lots of conversations with folks about how culture trumps strategy. And I thought I just, again, want to reiterate that if you are at a company that is established, trying to change the culture is like trying to turn an aircraft carrier. It's a big Megillah, and it takes a lot of effort. But one of the things that you did, and I think it was so wise, is you found the truth that rationalized an extension of that truth. And that's really important. You didn't say, here's a new part of our culture. You said, this is really part of our existing culture. It's just a new way of interpreting it.
Exactly. And I've even since then been so bold as to say, I believe if Mary Kay Ash were with us today, she would be hands down all over Twitter because she always had such wonderful advice and it all fits in less than 140 characters.
She was a pithy sort of, she really knew how to sort of capture things. And
She knew how to convey a message the right way at the right time in a way that was so memorable. So I tweet her wisdom all the time.
you know, it's funny. You study various presentation skills, and you learn about people. Steve Jobs was really good about this, about turning things into headlines. And
Yes.
he was so gifted at that and turning things into headlines in a very memorable way. But you've in some ways assumed the mantle of, I'm not saying Mary Kay, but you were very...
No.
No. But first of all, you are am I right? Are you the most senior woman on the executive at Mary Kay?
Well, there are actually other women on the executive team, so I'm happy to say I am one of the
women.
Senior women.
But are you the most active on social media?
I'm pretty confident in saying that I am.
Right, and I think in many ways you're leading by example. You're not saying, hey, you guys get involved in social media. You're committed to it. I know that I can pretty much count if I include you in a tweet or a post somewhere, I'm going to get some social love right back from you, which of course is great for us. But how much time and why do you spend the time on social media?
Well, for me, it's being connected. It's being connected with the independent sales force. It's my opportunity to personally be an advocate for Mary Kay and the brand, but also beyond that to be a thought leader as it relates to global business strategy, marketing strategy and insights, etc. And I think to your point about really leading by example, in fact, Mary Kay Ash said, the speed of the leader is the speed of the gang. I recognized that I was not going to be able to effectively lead the organization forward in digital and social media if I wasn't out there getting the learning, trying, going through the experience so that I would best understand what it is like. And when you talk about time, one of the things I learned is you can spend a lot of time or you can spend the right time. And it was really my ability to understand, first of all, you can't boil the ocean. You can't be on every channel all the time, every day. So some insights around how to be selective, how to make sure your brand is consistent with your audience, and most importantly, how to build lasting connections through social.
Yeah, and I would argue, and I noticed I was rereading your Twitter profile, you're on the Forbes 50 most influential CMOs list, which is kudos to you. But I would also argue that you're paying attention. You're not just okay, I got to spend 2 minutes doing this, and it's not. You put some real personality into it, which I think is, again, so important for this. Execs often sort of don't know exactly how to do social media.
Yeah, I think, social media is all a part of building value-added connections. And part of adding value is sharing feedback, information, content that's relevant to the person or the audience. So I really treat social much as I would a conversation in the office or in a social setting. It's about valuing people's time and attention, which is the most precious commodity today.
Do you use are there any tools that you use that help you do this? I mean, from a listening standpoint for your own personal use?
No, I don't use any tools. The content that I publish and share is really things that are on my mind, things that I've read that, again, I think would be helpful to share with others. So it's really, I think, like good marketing, you have a strategy, you have a purpose, and staying true to that. So I think by picking my moments and my messages, it might appear that I'm on social all the time, but I've really got it down to, I'll say, a science that works for me personally.
Right. Now, do you have a personal brand statement?
Actually, my brand statement is in my Twitter profile, I believe, and it's basically that I'm a business professional that connects people and concepts to create value. Because as I thought about what I've done throughout my career, both as a leader and as a marketing strategy person, it's about connecting people and ideas in a way that create value for the stakeholder or create value for the enterprise.
Okay. I know, and we've talked about this at the CMO Club. There are not a lot of marketers, ironically, are not very good at self-marketing. They don't have personal brand statements. So you heard it here first. Sheryl has a personal brand statement, and all you other CMOs out there, get yours together. We did a workshop on this, for heaven's sakes. Let's talk about social from a reconnaissance standpoint and a listening standpoint, because I remember we talked about how you use that as a listening tool. How, from a Mary Kay standpoint, not both you as an individual, but as a head of marketing, how do you use social from a listening standpoint? What kinds of things?
Yeah, that's a big question, and we're using social in a variety of ways. Certainly because of our relationship with the independent sales force, we are able to not only share content to help support their Mary Kay businesses, but as they share highlights of their Mary Kay life, it gives us an opportunity to encourage and congratulate them as they are achieving and growing their business, making connections with women. So for us, social is not only listening for opportunities. Certainly if concerns are expressed, it gives us an opportunity to address them quickly. It also gives the opportunity for other independent sales force members to also share advice and counsel if someone might have a question, or if they're just getting started with their business. So we definitely leverage social really to support their business and to give them the support and encouragement that helps give them the confidence each day.
Okay, so we talked about your sharing information, you're listening for customer service issues, you are hoping or helping build community through that. Let's sort of shift a little bit. Have there been any insights from social media that you've been able to use to, say, drive communications or make an adjustment somewhere?
I think we're learning all the time. We learn about content. We learn what resonates. One example that came up very unexpectedly was Super Bowl last year. And of course, everyone's bringing out the big guns with their commercials, and a certain beverage manufacturer had their horses and a little puppy. And I said, you know what, guys? People like to watch this puppy on Super Bowl Sunday. We have a video with our puppy. Why don't we put it out on Facebook today?
Right.
And sure enough, we put little Olive, who had been on one of our commercial shoots, and she was just playing with some of our lip gloss, and it was adorable. And we actually put it up on Facebook, and it went viral right away. It's one of our most successful posts, totally unplanned. But I think it was just a great example of there are a lot of things that you can learn from data, but sometimes you just have to be able to read your audience and have a sense of the pulse and what's going to resonate at a certain moment, and be nimble enough to jump on that.
Well, yeah, that's, by the way, in the book, CMO's Periodic Table, there is a chapter on real-time marketing, which is what exactly that. And Adam Nade from Cox has been really good at that. And also John Yemrick from NASA has been unbelievable with their real-time marketing. It's an art form in itself. Now, you had a couple of things going. Puppies, yeah.
Yes.
Puppies, always a good idea. And hashtag Super Bowl Sunday, another big thing. But And I would imagine that if you know your target as well as you do, giving them some fuel that they can jump on and share. Now, not everyone's going to be as successful as others, but you can. Yeah. That's an army of people, and if they're engaged, that's got to be a tsunami of support when that happens.
Definitely.
So let's talk a little bit specifically about some of your marketing programs. I know, a couple years ago we talked about your 50th anniversary and One Woman Can, which again, I love that language, the simplicity of it, and there's a lot in there. What we can talk about that, but what have you been doing? What was the big campaign in 2015?
Well, our global campaign is Discover What You Love, and that campaign is really an invitation for all women to discover what they love about Mary Kay. It might be discovering what they love about our products. It might be discovering the opportunity, the connections and the sisterhood, or it might be simply discovering the positive community impact that the brand has. So because our brand is multidimensional, we wanted a campaign that would invite women to learn more about Mary Kay. Now, within that campaign, we've had a number of exciting global programs around the world as women discover Mary Kay. In Asia Pacific, we have a Dream Beautiful model search contest, which is a big event. We're having a grand finale of that in February in Hong Kong. In Mexico, we had an It Girl contest. And then, of course, in the United States, Project Runway continues to garner a bigger and bigger fan base. And that's just been an excellent way for Mary Kay to actually be a part of people having an opportunity for their dream to come true. It's a way to connect the brand with today's generation, put us in a fashion setting. And so that's been a great integrated media property for Mary Kay in the United States.
Oh, that's really cool. I'm sorry to say I'm not a big Project Runway watch. Surprise, right? But so tell me about what that integrated program is.
Well, on Project Runway, Mary Kay had this past year was the official beauty sponsor. So that put us in a position to really be a part of the whole runway experience, because in addition to designing the outfits, it was important that these young designers had an opportunity to create the right makeup look.
Sure.
And one of our global makeup artists, Luis Casco, was actually the official makeup artist for Project Runway. So it was a great opportunity for him to provide some visibility to the Mary Kay products, to show how they could be used in a wide variety of ways. And again, to engage an audience with Mary Kay in a fashion context. And from there, it's really led to some exciting opportunities with chances to work with other designers and other runway shows in the future.
Very cool. That makes a lot of sense. And it avoids the issue of whether your commercial is being seen, because it sounds like you're integrated into the content.
Yeah. But most importantly, when I talk about integration, again, for marketing, if it doesn't engage and leverage the independent sales force, it is not a good marketing program. So in the case of Project Runway, the sales force really activated the program by having runway parties. So they would invite women to come over, try the products, right, watch the show. I think make some guesses as to which designer was going to win. So there was really a lot of excitement. It was a great way to introduce people who hadn't met the Mary Kay brand before. So that, to me, has really been what made that promotion and program a big success.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, runway party that turns a TV show into an event. It makes it very social.
Yeah, I mean, it became destination viewing, right, and a great fresh opportunity for women to get together and talk about fashion and beauty.
Nice, and that's probably a very good connection for you, as opposed to just talking beauty, to give it a broader context.
Yeah.
And also to think about beauty in a very, I'm wearing blue today, so let's think about that. And so very more, it's just interesting. It's being part of the culture. It's very hip and part of it, so there's a lot of goodness that's happening to the Mary Kay brand with that association, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you, so a lot of I would say the biggest challenge among all the marketers in the book, not all of them, but was measurement. Because, when you think about a Project Runway, there's the awareness that it builds and the top of mind things. There's that and brand goodness. Then there's these events and probably the most important thing in all of these, I would imagine for you, is that the brand ambassadors, the independent sales, beauty consultants, as you call them, feel better about the brand and feel like the brand is supporting them.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm not sure where your question was going.
Well, so what metrics? How do you measure the success of a program like that?
There are a variety. I can't go into too much information being a private company, but we certainly do extensive research around Salesforce sentiments. What I love about digital is our ability to track some of the activity back to our apps, etc. So without giving specific numbers.
Oh no, we lost you. All right, I'm kicking you off, and we're gonna stand by while we kick you off, and then you log right back on. Yay, okay. And we're live. Where are you, Sheryl? Yay! I think your phone got tired or your hands got tired.
Okay. Are you back on?
We are back on. Yes, thank you. Okay. So you were just wrapping up on metrics.
On metrics, I was just going to share that we, just to use the Project Runway example, could definitely see during the broadcast digital traffic going to our websites, to our apps, a lot of traffic, particularly coming through on mobile. If there was a special product that was mentioned for Mary Kay, seeing people looking for information on that product. Importantly, looking for an independent beauty consultant, because we do have a consultant locator on marykay.com. So if someone doesn't have an independent beauty consultant, or maybe has lost touch with their independent beauty consultant, it's easy for them to reconnect or find someone in their area using the consultant locator. And
your consultant's got to love that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Anytime you can bring a business to the consultant, they got to go, yay, that's awesome. Did I hear that you had an app in there?
Well, we have a couple of apps. The most popular one is our virtual makeover app. So if anyone loves to play with makeup, that's going to be the perfect experience for them. They can try on literally thousands of different looks of makeup, different hairstyles, jewelry. If they're a bride, they can try on different headdresses. So it's a great way to have fun with Mary Kay.
Nice. Okay, so that's a good thing. Let's talk about. But I want to go back a little bit on Sheryl, and you went to the University of Wisconsin. What'd you major in?
Retailing.
Retailing. Okay, and then you got your MBA from Harvard, which
correct.
Which Margaret Malloy would feel like you're a sister with that. As Ted Cruz's wife is a Harvard MBA.
And I have not met her.
Okay, well, all right. So talk about your path into marketing. I mean, once you got your MBA, I know for a fact that not a lot of Harvard MBAs go into marketing.
Yeah. I think I have always had an affinity for marketing and sales from the high school and college experience, selling on commission. And my interest in marketing was more because I wanted to be the person to decide what was being sold and not just being told, here's what you have, go sell it. But I also think, having been on the sales side, I really have an appreciation for the entire path to purchase. And bringing in the MBA from Harvard, I've always approached my marketing career as the CEO, if you will, because it really is about creating sustainable value. So I've always approached marketing and sales strategy in the broader context of the business enterprise and its success, which is always driven on how do you delight customers, how do you retain and grow those loyal relationships. And that's been true whether it was, you know, stovetop stuffing at Kraft Foods or when I was at Citigroup as a regional president. It really comes down to that customer focus. That really has led me to what I do and the way I do it.
Well, and it's so interesting. You went from packaged goods, classic training, to financial services, which is a world in itself, to beauty, and even in beauty, there's a big difference between your job and, say, someone at L'Oreal or Revlon. Right. I mean, it's very different situations, because you always talked about the fact that your customer are these ambassadors.
Exactly.
And so if those are your customers, how do you really make sure as the CMO that you're in touch with them, that you really understand their needs and I don't know if their needs have changed from 2009 to 2016, but how do you stay up with them? And plus they're 3.5 million, so it's not like you talk to all of them each day.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time, as much time as I can, meeting with them in person. I travel around the world. This past fall, I was in Ukraine, in Russia, Mexico, South Korea, and spending time talking with them, listening, getting their feedback and input. I would also be remiss if I didn't give big kudos to a great team, which is based around the world. And there's no way I could keep in touch with the Salesforce needs if it weren't for the organization and our ability to share insights, opportunities on a real-time basis with each other. So a lot of time invested in communication as well as in the listening. And then to just loop back on social, that's a great way to complement those face-to-face interactions. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I learned so much, particularly in the international markets where I might not have the language capability. I learn a lot from their pictures. In fact, in Korea, I'm on their social channel, Kakao Story, not because I have any Korean language skills, but we're communicating through pictures and it's fun.
Oh, that's that's very cool. As you're telling me that story, I'm thinking about two things. One, if you've ever read Lincoln on Leadership, one of the things that he never took for granted was the reports from the field. He had to go out and see for himself. And that reminded me also in my conversation with Beth Comstock of GE, who stated in one of her interviews that she spent 25% of the time out of the office. And I thought, wow, that's a good chunk of change. What are you doing there? And she talked about how, she was meeting with customers, but she was also meeting with people who were sort of doing cutting edge things as a way of sort of refreshing her input pool and keeping herself, from getting stale and being in that ivory tower.
And I do want to say that, my passion for engaging with the Salesforce is not limited to me or the marketing function. That is our company. Our customer is our reason for being. We exist to make sure that she is successful. So it really is, you could talk to the CEO, CFO, it doesn't matter. We are here for our customers. When they call, we drop what we're doing, we take their call, we step out of a meeting. It's that important.
Are there any male representatives?
Yes, there are a few. It varies by country. In Brazil, there tend to be more men, not a majority, but there's a more significant number. In fact, there is just one national sales director in Brazil, and he's terrific, and he fully embraces and embodies the values that are so important. So we do describe our opportunity as being for women, mainly because we know that when women do well, they in turn make sure that their families and communities do well. So of course, we really care about enriching the lives of all people, but we do believe that that is best done by enriching the lives of women.
Well, and it, you know, it gives you some focus. I mean, at least you're focused on half the population as opposed to all of it, and that helps any brand. And then I imagine even within that there are specific profiles of women that sort of are fit and respond to the Mary Kay story more so than others.
Well, you know, I would say it really could be any woman, and people do respond to the story and the opportunity on different levels. For some, it might be the financial opportunity. For others, it's the connections, the sisterhood of working and mentoring other women. Some just have a lot of fun with the products, and that's great.
Right.
And, you know, for some women, it might be over the course of time, they come to discover their confidence through the Mary Kay opportunity. So it truly is for all women. And if you want to come to Dallas sometime and see the national meeting and hear the stories, it is fascinating to hear doctors, lawyers, teachers, active military, nurses, the woman who may be immigrated to the United States, someone who is the daughter of a national sales director. You could probably name any story, and I could find an example of a successful beauty consultant with that story.
And is there any interaction among the beauty consultants themselves, on a local level, or did?
Definitely, for example, the national sales directors help mentor and train sales directors, and likewise, those sales directors mentor and train independent beauty consultants and team leaders. So there is very much a culture of sharing, mentorship, providing educational content that will help them you know, be successful in their businesses. Again, each independent beauty consultant is independent. It's up to her how she runs her business, but there is a lot of support and sharing that's available.
And, you know, it's interesting. I mean, when you look at small businesses, one of the things that people often talk about is it's so important that the small business owner has some kind of a network, and because often they get into a little island. And it occurs to me that that is the customer in this sense, that the connection that this individual has, getting out of the house, meeting with other women, helping them at a very personal level. I mean, what you put on your face, and that's a very personal thing, right? Yeah. So once they get sort of over the notion, I'm selling this, as opposed to I'm helping these people and I'm connecting with these people, I imagine there's a big sort of aha moment for some who, you know, because when you hear the word being a salesperson, that's a scary notion for most people.
Yeah, I think most independent beauty consultants would say the products actually sell themselves. But what they provide are that connection to get to know someone, understand what her beauty goals and concerns might be, and helping her try some different products. What's important about our model is the whole try before you buy. I know a lot of women, and I used to be one before Mary Kay, go to a department store, spend a lot of money, come home, and the next thing you know, those products are in a drawer because they weren't right. They weren't, you know, right for me. So we definitely believe in customized recommendations, the opportunity to try the products, and importantly, to make sure that women are satisfied.
Which makes that you removed a lot of the barriers to creating a sale, so it's very frictionless, which makes a lot of sense. I want to circle back because you've done some things. You've lasted longer in your position than the average, and you've also, you know, you've had a really good career trajectory. I want to talk about, so if you were a woman graduating from Harvard with her MBA, what would you say are the appeals of a career in marketing and the advantages of being in marketing? Because I think our profession has a tough time attracting, because there's finance and consulting and all those other ways. Why should they think about marketing?
Well, I have to quote Mary Kay Ash one more time. She said, "Nothing happens until somebody sells something." And in my humble opinion, it's really the marketing organization that provides the thought leadership. Certainly building a healthy, loyal customer base and a thriving brand. It's a team effort. But for a marketing person to bring to bear the combination of both analytical and consumer insight skills to understand a consumer's need, to understand how that company can uniquely solve his or her problems. That to me is where the magic is. And one of the things that attracted me to marketing was really how multidimensional it is. I can't think of a function in the company that I'm not working with, thinking about, whether it's from a people standpoint, talent, thinking about the financial implications, thinking about our supply chain. How are we going to deliver a product? How is it being manufactured? Are we designing something that's going to be, efficiently produced? So for me, marketing is a very total business function within the enterprise. And I think because I've sought out those really broad, meaty marketing roles is the reason why I've been successful and so satisfied.
So good match for you. I totally agree with you that, and it was interesting. I saw a tweet stream yesterday about whether or not the CMO should be in charge of the customer experience. And John Hayes in the book says there's no way. In this sense, he said there's no way I can do all of these things. He's been the CMO of American Express for a long time, 15 years at least. And he said that any CMO says that they're 100% responsible for the customer experience it's just not truthful, and it's not possible. I thought that was an interesting and honest perspective. But where does your job stop?
Well, you can't do it all, but I think you can influence and support. And I do like to think of myself and again, my team as being the lead advocate for the consumer and the customer, for being the voice of what they expect, what's going to make them feel important, and then sharing that voice with my colleagues around the company. Again, at Mary Kay, I recognize they all have the same desire and goal and expectation. And I like to make sure that I bring their voice front and center. Any major decision, any conference room we're sitting in, is to ask that question. And we always ask it of each other. How will this delight the independent sales force? How will this contribute to their success? So I think really in any company, that is one of the key responsibilities of a CMO.
Yeah, and hats off to you, because it is not an easy job, and I certainly have learned a lot talking to you and observing how you approach your job. Are there some advice that you would have for someone who's a mid-level marketer who aspires to be a CMO, some things that they should be focusing on now in order to be able to be successful at their job?
I do think having a multifunctional perspective of the customer's experience, to really not only think and understand those touch points, but also the partners throughout their organization that can impact those touch points. That's going to help them be a more credible and comprehensive strategist as it relates to the customer experience. And again, any and all time spent, to your point, out in the field, on the phone, social media, engaging and really understanding that customer, all of those things are going to serve that person well throughout their career.
And so one of the things that's interesting to me about marketing as we start to close down is The ones that I have, the folks that I really admire and that see successful is sort of acknowledge that it's not a direct, I do this action, I get a sale. Or you can't simply look at it that way because of the emotional factor and the other things that happen in terms of that if you ask consumers why they buy things, often it will drill down to, I just like that one better. They don't have an actual rational reason. They have an emotional connection with the brand. And so measuring emotional connection is tricky. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I will bring it back. I think the biggest challenge that folks have in marketing is that not every action causes a direct reaction. And you have to have some sort of flexibility in being able to see the bigger picture and understand, like in Project One Way, in many ways, the medium is the message. Mm-hmm. It's not just that you're getting exposure and you're building awareness. Being there says something about the brand, right? Yeah. I mean, it does. And that's important in the scheme of things. So I guess I sort of, how do you find the balance? And these, I'm sort of talking about the science, right? Lots of measurement, and the artisticness of the sort of really communicating on an emotional level with your customer, and where there's some intangibles. There are things that are harder to measure and calculate and may not show up on an action-reaction bottom line basis. Am I making, is this all gibberish, or is there any truth?
No, I totally get that. And just in case, I know my phone's getting a little low. I think the streaming was draining the battery. So if we lose each other, thank you, because it's been a great conversation.
Yes.
But let me quickly make sure I do respond to that, particularly in a business working with so many talented women in beauty. There is definitely an art as well as a science. And I think what marketers should do, and what they've always done, is to hone and trust their instincts, their gut, to know that those emotional connections are valuable, and they cannot all be captured in big data. So data can help, but it doesn't take the place of those human emotions and connections. And Drew, I would say, I think consumers still are making very rational decisions, but the thing is they have multiple choices. There are multiple products in any category that meet the criteria, have a good price. So how do you differentiate yourself? That's when those connections, when you're a trusted brand, that now becomes the differentiator.
Well, and that's a good place to talk about. We've talked about empowerment here in episode 12 of The Elements of Marketing. My guest has been Sheryl Atkins-Green. Sheryl, thank you so much for
joining. Thank you. I'm sorry I know my picture frame has been moving, but
it's all good.
I think I stayed on screen.
No, you did. You did great. Thank you so much, and we'll see you around the CMO Clubhouse.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, and congratulations on the book. It is fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much, Sheryl. Bye.
Bye.